Yesterday I was on a CET meeting with School 10, and things look going along pretty well there, other than the fact that they're...
What school, John?
This is School 10, the one that's going to be closing down
Okay.
in the 19th ward there. And, they're not exactly upbeat right now, but things are going pretty well at the school as far as making progress on the various metrics that they judge the school by. The principal and teachers don't know where they're going to be next year yet, so things are still pretty unsettled as far as where things are going to be next year. I think most of the kids have been told where they're going to be going next year, except for those who have disabilities. They're still uncertain.
The ones in the lottery haven't heard yet.
Yeah.
I spoke with a mother yesterday morning when I was there who had prioritized 5 school options for her kindergartner as she moves into first grade. And she didn't expect to hear for another month or so.
Yeah, it would be nice to avoid having that sort of upheaval again next year, God. It's bad enough when we don't have those problems.
I would imagine that until they know how many kids are going to want to go to which school, it's difficult to make decisions about moving faculty. And, when you're ready, I have an update on the tutoring situation at number 10 school.
Okay, why don't you, let's see, well, we've got Carmen Torres. Are you able to come on and introduce yourself, Carmen?
Yes, just having a little bit of a video issue right now. So if you don't mind, and then I'll put it on is once I figure out what's going on.
Sure.
Oh. So my name is Carmen Torres. I'm with the Children's Agenda, and I am the parent leadership manager, where we have over 45 parents that have been doing a lot of advocacy work in regards to early intervention, in regards to solutions, not suspensions, in regards to so many other child poverty. So we are currently working with 5 different issues all at once, which can be very, very hectic. But we've gone to Albany with our parents, along with teens, students, to talk about the variety of different issues going on. It's kind of interesting. I caught you all talking about East High School, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I am actually part of the FACE team there. And we've been helping out with some advocacy as well in regards to preparing both parent and students to go up to the podium and sign up before that and be able to express their feelings towards the possibility of losing this contract with the U of R. Okay. So lots of work, but very fulfilling.
Great. Well, we'll be probably getting back to a little bit of the East High situation a little later. Why don't we continue going around? You want to introduce yourself, Eleanor?
Oh, me?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. Eleanor Coleman. I'm with Catholic Charities Youth Build, and I'm the scribe for this meeting.
Okay, thank you. I'm John Boutet. I chair this education committee. Lee, you want to introduce yourself?
I'm Lee Loomis. I lead a tutoring team at number 10 school that is sponsored by the Rochester Engineering Society.
And Mary Coffey.
I am Mary Coffey. I am co-chair of the North Winton Village Association. And a long while back, someone brought me to John's meeting, and which I have great respect for the diligence and the hard work to try to raise the quality of education. And I have gone to many of his meetings. We're also, East High School is in North Winton Village, and we want it to stay, and we'd like whatever they're doing that's helping their children there to be given to all children.
Great. Charles, are you with us there? Can you introduce yourself?
Hi, yes, I'm Charles Reaves. I'm the Southwest Neighborhood Service Center Administrator.
Great, thank you.
Yep.
Okay, yeah, why don't we go ahead and talk a little bit about, if you want to introduce, are you speaking to someone else there, Lee? You're muted.
Yeah, I'm back on.
Okay, if you want to, let's see, is the latest thing from School 10, if you want to touch on that.
Yeah, I've been successful in persuading a group of engineering students from RIT in the industrial engineering program to volunteer to become tutors, and I'm hoping next week I will start them. They'll be working in teams of 2, and they'll be tutoring on Tuesdays and Thursdays at number 10 school. I've got 9 of them that are going to be doing this. I don't know how a team of 2 comes out of 9, but anyway, maybe one of them's a team of 3. But they'll be working with, I don't know what grade level yet. I'm having a meeting tomorrow afternoon with the community schools site coordinator, Sylvia Cooksey, and she is going to tell me what has transpired between her and the teachers to see where we can place these teams of students from RIT. So they'll be doing, hopefully they'll be tutoring next week, and then they're off for their spring break. And then they come back for 2 weeks, and then Cooper is off for its spring break. And so there's going to be this on again, off again thing because of the breaks that happen and when they do. But, you know, and every hour that we're engaged in tutoring is a good hour for the kids. They enjoy it. They really appreciate the individualized attention. And that's the way tutoring works, and that's what makes it successful.
Yeah, wonderful.
Right. Yes, we've been looking for tutors for several years now at various schools. In fact, we were involved when we were trying to recruit tutors for School 44, which is now closed. But one of the things that we've often been stressing is trying to get local busing for schools, and that's one of the things that hopefully in the coming months we'll manage to accomplish, which is one of the problems we've noticed from early on when we got started on this back in 2012 when they were going to close School 16 on Post Avenue, and we got a bunch of folks together to fight that, and we got the school renovated and eventually reopened. But all along we're we were saying, from what we had gathered from talking to people, that what we wanted was the school to reopen as a community school and have a lot of local involvement in the school so that as many parents as possible can go to the school to talk to teachers and attend events and try to reduce the crosstown busing that many of our students are involved with. And in a poor city like Rochester, there are a lot of parents who don't really have the transportation needed to go to a son's or daughter's school that's on the other side of Rochester, and taking buses to get there can be challenging. So we've been pushing for more local school involvement, and it seems that saying let's stop the crosstown busing isn't going to fly, because many parents have carefully studied what's best for their children, and it may be a school on the other side of town, especially if it's down the street from grandma or something, and the kids have an easy way getting to a good after school care situation. But the fact that a lot of parents pick their school so that their child can get busing means that the only sure way we have is to get local busing, whether it's half mile or longer or no limitation on it. That'd be ideal, but we've had legislation that's been submitted in Albany in both the Assembly and Senate for half-mile busing, but it's just sitting there right now. And I've been talking to Rose Bonnick, who is our local county legislator and also supports one of the senators in Albany, and I was hoping she'd be able to join us for at least part of this meeting, but I don't see her yet. And also I've been trying to get in touch with Damon Meeks. Just about all of our local people support it, but you always wonder how hard are they working on that. They have a lot of people screaming in their ears for things that they need, and we just have to make sure that we get enough influence to get things moving. All four of the local assembly folks are in favor of it, and both of our senators are in favor of it. But Rochester is kind of a little more, the nature of Rochester, I think, makes it more important for us than some of the other towns. That legislation applies to Buffalo and Rochester and Syracuse and Newark. There's 4 or 5 medium-sized cities that it applies to, but Rochester has the most busing because in 2002 we passed the managed school choice policy. Our school board passed that, and it basically said that parents can pick a school where they think they'll have better performance for their kids, and it was done to try to reduce complaints of inequity between the various schools. Frankly, I think we would have been a lot better making sure that all the schools perform well than to say, oh, you can send your kid to another school on the other side of town that's working well. And so anyways, because we have that policy, the managed school choice, parents can pick a school and that has space, available in it to send their child to. And if they do that and they pick one that's far enough away on the other side of town so that they have to have their child picked up early, they can get off to their job and try to, earn a living that much sooner and know that their child is cared for on the bus. Now, that's not, from everything that we hear is that parents who really are in the know and have studied the schools and are making good choices for their kids are benefiting from that managed school choice policy. But for parents who are looking at it more as a safe way to get their child to school, they get bused wherever, and it's the school that makes the decisions, and it's a matter of where do we fit this widget rather than anything that really is going to benefit the child necessarily. So we have to find some way of getting the busing taken care of. We've worked with several superintendents. I haven't even met the current one. Every other superintendent, we were there when they were getting voted in and talked to them and beseeched them to do something about, finding some way of getting local busing. Some of them were quite serious about it. Others pretty much didn't have much hope that it would go through. Our previous mayor did, for a while there, it looked like we were going to get something done, but
Right.
then she left office and it's kind of back to square one now. So
Why won't our current mayor step up and say anything? It isn't like we're asking for more. We're the lowest in New York State. We're asking for what is right to raise the quality for our children. This is, as I say, this is a moral issue. The city council came out with a newsletter written by Miguel was leading it, who said they were for education, but I'm not seeing them all take a strong stand. So what's that all about? Is it because of their campaigns and the teachers union who support them? What is the reason? This is about our children.
yeah, I don't know. Carmen, do you have you followed that issue at all with the parents that you've been dealing with?
Yeah, we actually meet with the school superintendent along with the chiefs and everyone involved in decision making when it comes to our city, Rochester City School District children, students. I know that they are zoned schools from ages K through 6, where they have to stay within their zone, which is kind of crazy for me, but that's the way they do it. And they also are doing, but if your child goes to, they go to middle school, high school, then they can cross zones because they can't help it. They don't have that many high schools. So that's one thing. The other thing is that, charter schools also use the buses because the district also has to provide busing for those children for charter schools. They also have to provide busing for any specialized schools, so BOCES or something like that. It's always been about money, it's always been about money. Unfortunately, it is something that our parents have brought up, especially those parents who live in areas that really a child shouldn't have to walk to school, not, because it is very dangerous neighborhoods. Um, so, I mean, they've come up with really temporary plans where um, they may have like a community walk. They do like community walks or bus. I forgot the name of it. They call it like a bus, but walking bus, I think is
Walking
what they
school
call it.
bus, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So they do that where they have a small group of kids walking with adults, and then adults drop them off, and along they go, and then they come back out and talk with, get with the kids again, and walk down the street and drop off kids to where they need to go. Again, all of busing has always been an issue for the Rochester City School District. I know they were concentrating a whole lot on the home schools, which is the schools that are closest to them. The stipulation for that is that parents do get a letter. So if a school is not working up to par, or they're not really showing progress, or they're actually going downhill, what happens is they have to, by legal right, the parents all receive a letter and letting them know about the status of their child's school, and then they give them also freedom to change their child to a different school.
Oh.
What's going on is that there's so much movement going around that there really isn't stability. I haven't even mentioned McKinney-Vento, which is another policy that actually helps and supports children who are becoming or are homeless, and they can actually send a bus all the way to Greece to bring them into the city if that's what they need to do. So they'll go just about anywhere to pick up your child if you're homeless. So all of these buses are doing all kinds of things. Hence the reason why they also have done earlier schools and late school starts. So the bell times are different because of that same reason. There just isn't enough buses, and because of so many different programs and kids going in different directions. I hope I answered.
It isn't just the buses. I mean, we have a tutorial program, and that's by volunteer. Volunteers, it's a wonderful program. What is the price for a child's mind and to get a child out of poverty?
Okay, can you say that again? I do apologize. I couldn't hear you.
It's not just the buses. It's the overhaul needs of our children. And as I say, we have tutorial running a wonderful program. Now we have, people from RIT coming. I mean, this is wonderful. This is volunteers. This isn't our government.
Right.
What are our government doing for our children? I mean, and then what is the price of a child's mind and to get a child out of poverty? Generational poverty is forever in Rochester, New York.
Yeah.
And it starts with a good education. So I where do we go with this?
Well,
I mean,
trying to get the state to extend its busing policy for Rochester would be helpful. It doesn't completely
absolutely.
It doesn't completely solve the problem of do we have enough buses, because during the transition you may find that you're needing more buses, but ultimately if we can cut down the crosstown busing as much as possible, it should reduce the amount of busing that we need to do. It will mean more parents involved with their local school, being able to contribute their efforts to the school that their child goes to. And
it's wonderful. It's wonderful.
And
we need even more.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
And we have to push in that direction. But the transition to how to get there is is the issue.
Well, wouldn't just saying we have the highest poverty child rate in the United States of America put us there to do something for the children?
Well, you have to get the money from somewhere. Yeah,
Well, they got
it's
money
either-
for a lot of other stuff.
And unfortunately, the money from the state and from the federal government all have their asks that you have to do this or do that and jump through this hoop and that hoop, and some of those hoops aren't helpful.
It's sad.
Yeah, one of the things I was hoping to have today is we had a note from one of our local officers, and I was hoping he could join us to give us a little bit of an insight from the local police point of view of what are some of the challenges on the streets with, you know,
Right.
what kids and the fact that busing kids across town reduces the amount of local neighborhood unity that you have. You know, you hope that your
Right.
kids go home, play with the friends they made at school, and
Right.
it's all people they can walk to see them, and you have this unity. Parents look out for the kids because
Some
they
parental
know they're
control.
local. And the half mile, the 1.5 mile busing has pretty much put a kink in that local school attendance, because of it just is an allure to send your kid to a school that's 1.5 miles
Very
away.
sad.
So,
It's like
If I could put a spin on that,
yes.
I would spin it off with the fact that we have in New York alone, in upstate, well, New York as a whole, we have had over 799,000 children suspended just in between COVID and now. So we have and we're talking preschoolers being suspended, first graders, kindergartners, third graders. So that's what the Solutions Not Suspensions bill will
Right.
help with, right? Because the other item is children, schools, the amount of time or days, it's 182 days that they go to school. A child can get suspended up to 120 days of school. So the problem here is you said something that kind of rings true to the fact that a lot of these children who are being suspended are also at home. They're not being productive in any
Right.
education, right? So a lot of the situation going on with our kids happen to be that either one, they never return to school because they don't talk about that. And so they're MIA to return back to school. The other is they get suspended for so many days, they give up on school. And the other thing is, you know, poverty, drugs, alcohol, all the negative things going on around us is affecting our children, bottom line.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
And that's why East High School had social workers in there. The U of R had programs in there working with the whole child.
Right.
With the whole child. I had worked for in Child Protective, and there was educational neglect.
Right.
And they would come in. Now, where that's going now, I don't know if it was on here. I heard that they don't like to do it. They want to work with their parents. I don't know what's going on there, but there were things set up to.
There are protocols that they do have to follow. The district does have to follow.
So, yeah.
But the problem also is the capacity, is the you know, how many teachers they might be able to send out to meet up with children and give them that 2 hour.
Monroe County
Mhm.
Monroe County does the educational neglect. Their caseworkers and child protective are the ones.
Nicolle
Yeah.
Haynes just joined us. You
Our
want to say
good
hi,
friend.
Nicolle?
I was hoping to get here at 6, and I apologize for the interruption.
Oops,
I
you
was
just.
putting in the chat that the education cart of the RASE Commission meets at this time also, and just wondering if there are opportunities for collaboration, because that's usually what keeps me from. It's like I'm doing the real team, I'm doing this, I'm doing the cart, and it's like it's
Yeah.
all similar, if not identical work.
Mhm.
And so just an idea.
Yeah, it's all related. We have to make sure we keep in touch with one another. We've been kind of discussing the problem with, crosstown busing kind of destroying the neighborhood structure that we used to have when people went to their local school and built friendships. Parents got to know one another because they were all taking care of the local school. And we've gone away from that thanks to the managed school choice policy and the 1.5 mile busing issue that the state has. So, whatever, if you have some thoughts on that.
So that's the focus area right now for this team.
Well, that's what we were talking about just now. We will probably get around to talking a bit about East High also, but right now, any enlightenment you can send our way.
Well, two things I'll say. As a former parent in the district, I have 3 graduates that lived around the corner from a school that closed, 36 school. I can't remember the name, but on Carter, where my children went to school, because I live on Willite Drive, so we just walk around the corner. And his teacher herself told me, you need to get your child out of this school. So the choice policy, in my humble opinion, is not what has ruined neighborhood schools. What that has done is given parents choice. What is ruining neighborhood schools is having schools that are not good for kids.
Thank you.
Because if we have schools that are good for kids, we'll choose them.
Yeah.
I wanted to be able to walk around a corner to my child's school.
Right.
And someone said, what are you doing here? So instead, we wound up in 46, 28, and 23. And I live off of Portland. So if you know the city, you know I was not in my neighborhood for any of those schools. I was closest with 28 school, but still I was out a little bit. So, and I know that's a heavier lift, but I would caution us to blame the school choice policy and somehow endeavor to dismantle it, because that's usually what happens after blame, and that then leaving parents back in the predicaments that they were in. Now, the predicament is not great now either, because the choices are not great. There aren't, and we're working on that. I mean, I'm a part of the problem and the solution as a member of the Rochester City School District team. So, I can't point any fingers because I'm in the system. But I think that is the heavier lift, definitely. But that is what's going to bring us back to the community, is when we can choose schools in our neighborhoods with the peace of mind that every parent wants to have for their child.
Right.
Because I thought I was, and when, who doesn't move their child when the teacher tells you, get out of here?
Yep.
Right. Right. The schools have to be good. Period.
Yeah, that's one of the things we soon learned when we started talking to parents is the last thing on earth you want to do is say, let's do away with choice, because every parent who values choice and is using it is going to scream bloody murder, and rightly so. But still, you need to find a way of trying to, as much as possible, encourage parents to be involved with their child's school. And if they don't have transportation and they send their kid across town, if they're going to be spending 3 hours on the bus trying to get there in time for a meeting. So that's one of the things that's been pushing us to say you need to have local busing available, so that if you want to send your child to the local school, and here in the 19th Ward, there are several good local schools, but a lot of parents send them to some other school because if you're gonna, you try walking 1.5 miles sometimes, you're from here to, it's just incredible the distance we're talking about. And for little kids to walk even 1/2 mile is challenging. So the walking school bus may be a solution, but just trying to find ways of avoiding the problems that come from the 1.5 mile busing issue is one of the things we've been pushing for.
And to raise the quality of whatever school
Oh,
a child goes to. And we must all fight for it, and we must have the state come in and take their responsibility as head of the education of our children. And we have to have our own people in government stand up and start fighting for our children. When you've got the lowest in the state, the highest poverty rate, we can no longer stand by, no longer. John, you've been great. You've been fighting it forever. Everybody's got to start seeing it and getting on it. I will readily admit I am that white privileged woman. I am a lucky white woman because I came from a family where my parents owned their own home. I lived in a safe neighborhood. I went to good schools and I could get good jobs. And our children don't have those opportunities in the city of Rochester. And it starts with good schools. And that is how you reach economic equality. And then everybody's the same. Economically makes the playing field level. And they can't achieve it in Rochester, New York. So we just have to stand up.
There are there are so many things in terms of institutional racism that has gone on in this country over the years that, for instance, I think it's in the New York area, some of the loops that they had were purposely built low enough so that buses couldn't pass under them. So that if you were driving your car back and forth, you could take your kid at wherever. But if you were having to take a bus to work, you might not be able to get there easily because you had to find a line that made it past some of those barriers. And certainly 490 and 390 and all these.
But why now, John? Now, today.
Well, that
what's causing it today?
We have to undo some of the damage, and that's not always easy. It used to be that when people were driving down Monroe Avenue and the various streets that had a lot of businesses along them, you had places where kids could find a job within walking distance of where they lived, and everything went out to the malls. And the arteries that we put in that brought businesses out of the city has damaged the ability for children to easily get a
But
job.
if they get a good education, they'll be able to get a good job. And we're not providing.
One thing before we lose it, this Friday there's the Rochester Coalition for Public Education is meeting at 4 o'clock, and I'll see if I can find the Zoom link and put it in the chat. But that some of you, I know Eleanor has been to some of those, and Lee, and I think you made it to one, didn't you, Mary?
I've been to them all.
Yeah, so that's a very good group, and we try to get as much cross-pollination as we can between
And
various
John,
groups.
East High School is in North Winton Village.
Mm-hmm.
And years ago, when we were working to turn North Winton Village around, there was a lot of drug activity, a lot of things going on. The children were leaving the school 24/7. And the citizens came to us. We had our board then, and we still do. And our merchants came and said, these kids are roaming the streets all day long, and they're doing drugs behind the buildings and that. So I went down to East High School and walked in to talk to the principal. And I said, this has to stop. And I said, the children are not learning if they're out roaming the streets. And God help us if they're doing drugs behind buildings. And John, I was told, well, there's too many doors and not enough people to watch them. So then at that time, Tom Richards was mayor. I called Tom Richards. I called Malik Evans, who then was head of the school board. And I called Jim Shepard, who was chief of police. We said, we got to do something. We've got to get this under control. So they went, those men, and I will have nothing but respect for them at the time. And that's why I don't understand why Malik's not in standing up for better schools now. They went to Albany. They put it in the governor. They put it into receivership. They got U of R in there. And a whole different child, a whole different world. And they put in not just ABC, the different things that the child needs because of our situation of our streets today. Our children are hurting in many ways. So it can be done, John. Mm-hmm. And if government got involved.
Yeah, and I put the link in the chat there if you want to make sure you save the chat for this meeting we have on Friday with the Rochester Coalition for Public Education. They've been trying to also get involved with, they had hoped to have a meeting tomorrow with Barry Bronson, but that's been postponed to next week, I think. And they're hoping to be able to do some planning for some of the things they want to ask for in that meeting with Bronson.
But it's not just East; it's all the schools too. They want every child.
Yeah, every high school should be benefiting from what we've learned at East.
Right.
Every grade school should be trying to emulate what some of the best schools, whether they be charter schools or public schools, are doing. If there are some really good charter schools, well, we should. The original objective of the charter schools was to be experimental schools that you could try something a little different. And if it worked, that you could then adapt that to the public schools in general. But that seems to be a little more difficult than we'd like.
But we have to do something.
Yeah, we will.
It's just not
Um,
right. Every child needs what I had and what my children have. Every child has that right.
Any other thoughts, Nicolle, on what we should be looking at or problems that you've run across?
I just put in the chat, and I'd have to research it, but I think I'm right that the 1.5 mile issue stems around the fact that if the district decides to transport children below that point, they have to pay for it
That's right.
out of the district's budget. They don't get reimbursed.
And there are bills in Albany right now that would reduce that to 1/2 mile.
Right. So
But
how do we
need,
get on those, like things that are already in play? Like who do we need to email? Because I think that is a place where we could actually have a relatively quick win.
Yeah.
Because other people across the state are fighting for that as well, especially, in cities where we have many, many neighborhoods that it's either weather driven or it is environment driven. Like I shouldn't have to walk this distance to get to school when the corridor has been deemed a violent corridor. Like we have statistics that say this is not a safe space to be walking in at 6 o'clock in the morning when it's dark outside in the wintertime. So, we have data to support that. And so I would definitely encourage us to whatever we can do. And I apologize. Carmen is the guru on this that I know of. Carmen, I'm sorry. I said Carmen. I have a superintendent named Carmen. I apologize, Carmen. What those political moves that you need to make to get things to change. Like I know that she lives and breathes that. But if there's anything we as a team can do to get on that bandwagon, since it's already in front of legislators, thank you. Somebody just put the bill.
Yeah, those are the bills that I was able to at least. I don't know if there's a newer version that's been put in, but looks like these are still in there. And the assembly, if you look at those bills and scroll down, it tells you we have Sarah Clark, Harry Bronson, Jen Lunsford, and Damon Meeks who are, supporting it from our local area. It was put in by, I forget who, and then for the Senate, we have Samra Brook, Jeremy Cooney, and Timothy Kennedy.
Well, that's a lot.
So there's a lot, there are a lot of people who've put their name on it. Now, how hard they're hitting this, depends.
Yeah, I'd like to know how long has this been waiting on, for it to be signed.
It's
That's
been
the first thing.
I think it's been at least 3
So
years.
my advocacy, strategy started coming out. I'm so sorry, but the first thing that needs to be done is to see how we already know it did go to the Senate, it did go to the Assembly, but then what is the stall? Is it NYSET? Is it what is it that's making this bill not pass? That's the first question. The second question is who is championing this specific bill? Who is actually taking and making sure this bill continues on to the next level, right? For it to get signed by the governor. So when you don't have somebody that's championing it, when you don't have, because all of these people that you mentioned, yeah, they're awesome and they're wonderful, legislators, assemblymen, and senators. The problem is that when something gets stalled, right, it has to get revisited and re-implemented back to the table.
Yeah.
So when you're not doing that and there isn't someone, like, let's say, we could say, Damon, we really want you to lead this bus, new busing status, right? What do you think about it? Because he might be okay with it. He's cool with it. But what is he going to do about it? And that's the main thing that has to happen. So then you go to Albany and you start to speak to all of these folks, right? And start to say, this is, we need to have research to back up, as Nicolle was saying, if you don't have research and if you don't have the data
Walking in
to
the front yard.
include in these bills, then the bill is where it is.
Yeah,
See, that's the difference between a bill that's actually moving and a bill that's stalled. And it's scary to see that if a bill has been stalling for whatever amount of years, it's just going to keep, other bills will go jump over it, and then it's a start over button. You
John,
have to hit the
maybe
reset
take it to the coalition. Has it been
button.
taken to the coalition, John?
Yeah,
Is there a coalition for that?
Well, the Coalition for Public Education, I've been, I'm Johnny One Note with them because I've been talking about this since I started working with them. But they are they're in support of this, but they're limited things that you can do at once, and there are many other issues that depending on people's perspectives and experiences, that in terms of racism or you name it, all the other issues that float around. It's an easy one to point at and say, gee, if we had half-mile busing, that would solve a lot of problems. But
and I haven't looked at it. So I will research it myself. My main concern is there money attached to that bill? That's the other thing. If there is dollars that are specifically mentioned in this bill, that also helps a bill pass. Yeah. But it's not going to if you don't have specific things within that bill so that it can move to the next level and eventually to her desk. But again, if you don't have sort of like a buy-in from all of these other folks to lead and then folks going to Albany and do some lobbying in Albany and meeting with these with various legislators, assemblymen, and the senator, and putting in, because they probably don't even remember what it says, to be honest with you. If it's been sitting there for a while, they probably haven't even revisited. But the way that you need to go about it is to bring it back to the light. Sending a letter to Damon. Remember when you said that this bill, S4414, is important to you? Where are you with that? So accountability has to be playing in a role as well. A lot of different wheels spinning at the same time.
Yeah, we have Damon is in the neighborhood here, so I got to get a hold of him. Kitty corner across the street from where I am is Rose Monick, who is the local. She's a county legislator, but she's also the person that's been working closely with Jeremy Cooney and making sure that he gets reelected and stuff. So she's kind of looking at this a bit, but of course,
because all you really have to do is make appointments and meet with these people on a local level first, right? And see what their thoughts are about this. Has it made it to their trash can? Or maybe it's gone through what are you doing about this? Why are you not pushing this? Why isn't there money attached to these bills? We need to know. Because, see, the district can't go ahead and say, oh, we're going to bus everybody. They can't do that. They don't have the capacity, number one, and they don't have the buses when they have two different bells going on, and then they have the charter schools and all those other sprinkling of schools that they need to get children at, like the Howard and Sands and all these other different programs that are out there to create for our children to thrive. So the district has to make sure that they get those kids to the schools first. Now, the money aspect of it, the financing part of that would be or more buses maybe to be increased in order for this to happen. But you need to have some money attached to it because it'll just keep going in circles and nobody really is paying attention to it.
Yeah, there have been a few studies done within the district that supposedly says that if you went from the current state to having primarily local busing, that it would actually reduce the cost because you wouldn't be busing kids as far. Of course, the transition period means that you're probably going to have more buses required. And right now, especially with COVID, we ran into a situation where we didn't have enough bus drivers to drive the buses we had.
Mm-hmm.
So there's...
and they actually had to offer them more money.
Yeah.
To come back, either to come back or to retrain. All of this costs money to train people to be able to even go through the process of making sure that they're not just hiring anybody, somebody.
What is the cost of and I keep saying it, of a child's mind and a child's future? I'm hoping, John, that this East High School situation, it's opened a door, and I hope the door stays open.
Yep.
So everybody can come in on all the situations and the suffering and what's going on with our children and how we can all work together to make it better.
Yes, and Mary, I agree with that, but there are two entities that we're talking about. When we say East High School, all right, we also have to mention U of R.
Yeah.
Because if U of R says, we're done, we proved our point,
Well,
they could leave. But I have good news. They did just come, they had, the news just came out where they said that they'll be willing to do a few more years. Now that's a good thing. So now both parties, the East High School, superintendents, along with the U of R, now have something to work with. See?
Right, that's exactly it.
I think also, Carmen, that the Rochester City School District has to agree.
And at the end of the day, the agreement has to happen with the board.
Yeah.
But it's great to have the two powers, right? You got two powerful entities that are
they're the ones that took it down, the Rochester City School District.
Exactly, because number one, it costs a lot of money to run that school. It does.
Absolutely. And I keep saying, what's the price? I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
You only need a few kids ending up in jail to find that you're spending a hell of a lot more money.
Good point.
Amen. Frederick Douglass said it's easier to build strong children than to try to put together broken men. So let's.
And I go by an African proverb: if we don't nurture our children, that same child will come and burn down your house just to feel its warmth. So that's by what I live by, and that's why I fight for children's rights every day. Yeah, but I think studying studying the Assembly bill and the Senate bill will probably can be, you could start making your little plan for that piece as far as buses. When it comes to East High School, the best thing to do, in my eyes, is when you have parents and students telling stories that reflect the positivities of this school. And the negative side too. So well-balanced stories that will enhance why it is that the district needs to, or the board has to consider going a few more years. And then we can talk about it later on. After those few more years are done.
When you talk about racism, and you're going back to the loop and all that stuff, today, the children not getting whatever race, color, and creed equal education, because it's public and it should be equal education and job opportunities, then that is racism. And who has control of those situations? And they're pinning the blacks against the whites. And I think we have more of government control in this. So we got to stand together, and we can't go down divided.
Well, we've got the meeting Friday for the Rochester Coalition. If any of you are interested in joining that, I've put the links in the chat. The two bills which show who's involved with it, and you can get the addresses of Assembly and Senate members if you want to send them a note.
Great.
And I'll try to, see if I can get a hold of them, and I'd like to have either in-person meetings with them or Zoom meetings. So we've got those things going. There's going to be sometime, I think it's going to be in the following week that they were, I don't see it yet. It hasn't been, I don't think the time has been set for the meeting with Bronson yet.
The more you get involved and try to get the coalition involved too, it's everything, every aspect of this.
John, do you think that the coalition's going to start with a letter?
They're writing a letter right now. I've got to look at, I'll try to send out a copy of the letter that Dan Dermesage put together, and he's circulating it for feedback from the rest of the members. I'll try to send that your way, and you can, make use of the link.
I think they're going to rewrite it. I think that's what the next meeting is, to finalize.
Yeah, they're planning on working on that at the next meeting. So it will be useful, I think, for you to, if you can make the meeting. It runs from 4 to 5:30.
I have it on my calendar. I'll be there. Mm-hmm.
Great. Okay. Well, we're at 7:04 here, and Eleanor's fingers must be getting cramped by now. She's the magic fingers that keep taking notes here.
The stable behind this.
Well, thank you all. I just want a quick question, and I apologize for. Is this also like a neighborhood? And I apologize. Like the same way Market View Heights is like a neighborhood coalition. Would you all consider this also?
Well, the Southwest Common Council kind of took in everything west of the river and south of the inner loop. The southwest
but
part
I'm
of
from
the
the other side of the city. I'm from the other side.
Yeah, but
okay.
Once you start talking about education committee,
it's everyone.
It's everybody in the city is involved with it. So we haven't been too careful as to who we exclude. In fact, we don't exclude anybody who's alive and ready to do something.
You've been the one that's kept it going.
Well,
you
you
won't let go of it, and thank you.
I just know that the deputy chief of police is looking for opportunities to engage neighborhood organizations in conversations and developing of relationships around public safety.
Keith,
so I wasn't sure.
I
wasn't sure if this was a good group to connect him to, or
Yeah, he's wonderful.
Well, we've been the Southwest Common Council itself, which I co-chair.
Oh, okay. There's a larger group, but this is a subgroup.
This is a subgroup of the Southwest Common Council. They meet. Right now. They're meeting 4 times a year, and we just kind of blended that in with Southwest Neighborhood Association.
So you already have that relationship. You're working with him.
We have a relationship there.
Okay.
And my background is I walked PACTAC for about 30 years, and
Tech actually came up at the St. Paul Quarter businesses.
And I went through seeing all the complaints about police brutality as being completely, foreign to me, to wondering, holy smokes, what's going on here? Because some of the things that you end up interacting with, you say, my God, I can't believe they're doing that,
So I just try to be a connector at times, and if that connection has already been made, thank you. I just wanted to say.
But a lot of people don't know about Keith Stiff. I just happen to have had the opportunity to work with him.
Awesome.
I think we should invite him to the next meeting.
Yeah, he's sincerely.
He's definitely open to that. I just don't want to step on the toes of your other subcommittees who may already be working with him.
No.
No, that's. I think we need to have some input here, keeping in
Nicolle,
mind
could you say what his
keeping in
name is
mind that
again?
many of
Keith? And then Stiff is STITH.
Okay, you got that, Eleanor?
Excellent.
Yeah, Deputy Chief of Police.
Okay, good.
So I just wanted to make the connection, but
No.
I'm glad to hear that he's already working with the Southwest Neighborhood Association.
Well, Charles Reaves, who's in charge of the Southwest Neighborhood Council or whatever, he's working with the officers that are housed in that facility and
Neighborhood Service Center.
Neighborhood Service Center.
Okay, awesome. Okay.
So,
That may be-
and
The
we've
more the better.
and we've tried at times to get as much of the neighborhood service centers, the citywide folks, to get involved with some of these efforts we were making with the schools, because really need to focus all the energy we can on these things, but it's not always easy. Okay, well,
Thank you.
anything else that we need to touch on here?
Always, John, thank you. A few
Okay.
prayers, that's what we all have to
Yeah.
do. Is
We can.
And if I can, if you guys don't mind, I would love to have you come to our every second Thursday meetings with our parents. They're an amazing group of parents that, are excellent leaders, and they're doing phenomenal things in our city for the greater good of all children.
What time is that, Carmen? Is there a standing link?
Would you like to come in? Yes, yes. I will send you.
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
I
Yes,
send a link, and John
Send the link to me, and
and
I'll see
Eleanor,
if I
maybe we can get it, or
yeah,
If
definitely.
you put it in the chat,
Yeah,
if you can put it in the chat, I'll copy it and stick it in the minutes.
Okay, that's what I'm talking about. So here it comes. Let me just grab
Many
it.
thanks for getting all those tutors for the children too. That's wonderful.
Oh, tell me about that real quick while she's doing that. What's that? What's that about?
tutors?
Children.
Yeah, Lee Loomis has been recruiting students, tutors for School 10 for many years now.
I 10 years ago, I began a tutoring team at number 10 school, Dr. Walter Cooper Academy, sponsored by the Rochester Engineering Society. And over the last 10 years, including, kind of a shutdown for a while during the pandemic, we've had somewhere between 75 and 100 people tutoring in the school face-to-face with the kids during the day, only during the day. And we, of course, had to recreate it after the pandemic. We put it all back together, and I've got 9 people tutoring there right now
Wonderful.
on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, or Thursdays. And I've just recruited 9 more people, students from RIT's industrial engineering department. These are all undergraduate students, and I'm hoping that they're going to be starting next week tutoring I've got them broken into 2-person teams, and they'll be tutoring on Tuesdays and Thursdays.
Wonderful.
Love it. So what I'm hoping, and I honestly don't have any information about this, but wherever Dr. Eva Thomas winds up being the principal, that you will just go with her.
No, we belong to Dr. Walter Cooper Academy. When it goes away, we go away.
No.
Oh, wow.
Something's going to be on that campus. We're not taking Dr. Walter Cooper's name off that building. And maybe Eva Thomas will be the principal of whatever's on that campus.
It's going to be a Montessori school.
Relationships are with principals.
It's going to be a Montessori school on the call. So there's something coming in, but you know.
Yeah, but and I don't know if we've determined who the principal is going to be yet. And I wouldn't want Eva to lose this relationship, or Dr. Thomas. So just keep it in mind. Don't dismantle the children. Think about it this way.
And
the children will still be there.
If you haven't,
the children are being dispersed throughout the city school district.
Those particular children, but the children who have the need for the brilliant minds of those math and science majors the need is still there. So please, and you've already got the structure going. It's simply a matter of where should they report changing. So please consider keeping it going. That's just
and that is just an example of the good there is there, and we have to have.
Oh, there is such greatness that I already been on my soapbox, and so you know, of course, Dr. Walter Cooper was on his soapbox too. So I don't know. Sometimes I'll be like, okay, Lord, you know, you a miracle worker. It don't have to be, you know, any people can change their mind. So
That's right.
I'm holding out.
Right. Prayer works.
Hallelujah.
Well, thank you very much, everybody, for your cooperation and helpfulness. And I see that the latest information from Carmen is in the chat. So we've saved the chat. And if
yes, just copy it and put it right on there. The 14th. That's a Thursday. We meet every second Thursday. So if you can't come to this Thursday, just know the following month. Okay. It's the second Thursday of the following month as well. So, you know, I keep my meetings very open. As a matter of fact, the superintendent was floored because the parents actually run the meetings with
wonderful.
Me. It's not like it's all Carmen for whatever. No, it's about the parents taking leadership at its best and learning together about the different issues going on, and along with the research that's attached to it, and then coming out and doing what they need to do and take action, which is awesome to see.
I will say that I'm going to be in a play in the Avenue Box Theater, Black Box Theater on Joseph. So March 14th and March 13th. Reaves has us rehearsing because the show is the weekend of the 13th and the weekend but May 11th. I'm gonna put May 11th on my
Okay, yeah, that sounds great. Just make sure you let me know you are coming so I could tell them all the good news that you all are coming, and you'll be very, very extremely impressed with these parents.
Great.
So I apologize. May 11th is coming up as a Saturday on my calendar.
March.
That's what. No. I'm thinking about your May date. Oh,
That's 2023.
Oh, wow. How did that happen? Let me see. Give me a second. How did that happen? That's weird.
And I know John is trying to close, so.
No. Please don't close yet. Hold on. Let me see why.
We'll keep the chat going until everybody's happy with what they've put in there.
All right. And Eleanor, it'll be in the minutes, right?
Yes.
Okay,
yes. I'm waiting.
But I appreciate you all.
Okay, I found it. I don't know why it went to the last year's, but I didn't even notice that. Thank you for noticing it.
Neglect the 2023 ones. Huh?
Yeah. Okay, so here it comes. Just making sure I got everything all copied and pasted for you. And of course, it's giving me a hard time. Give me one more second. And
It's such great information.
so here is that. All right. And that's the one. I don't know what the other one was all about.
Okay.
That was weird. But yeah, that's the one.
Very good.
Okay.
Very
So I'll
good.
send
We
it
will-
to, looks like
So-
Nicole had to jump off, so I'll make sure I send it to her as well.
Great.
I'm not seeing the new dates
What are you not seeing, Eleanor?
in the chat. I'm not seeing the new date.
Yeah, she's got
The
well,
20.
there-
I put it on
the
twice.
row. I see.
Yeah,
it.
yeah. I
Got
did
it,
two
got
of
it.
them just
All
in
right,
case.
January. So I'll start with March 14th.
Yes, ma'am. Yep. April 11th, May 9th, June 13th, July 11th, and August 8th. Yeah.
All righty. Well, it was a good meeting. If you didn't get a chance to look through either the meeting notes from last meeting, or if you're not familiar with Commissioner Griffin, she was at our last meeting, and it was quite interesting. She had a lot to say about what her views are, and we found that a very lively discussion. So the video for that is in the notes that I set out inviting for this meeting here, so you can check that out if you'd like. And with that, I guess we can call it a day, huh?
Have a good evening.
All right.
everyone.
Okay.
Thank you.
Pleasure.
Have a good night.
Thank you.
Good night.
Bye-bye.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Bye.
Good night, John. Bye,
Good night.
Mary.
Goodbye. Thank you.
Good night, Elvia.